Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. LSU and Louisiana Lafayette from the box tonight. We will get you ready for that. Glenn West to go 24/7. Talking probably all three sports in this segment. That's just the way this time of year works. We'll talk to Glenn about what he's seen on the football field. He was there as Joe Sloan met with the media today. We'll talk a little hoops as LSU's got a bunch of folks headed out in the transfer portal, and certainly some baseball with Glenn as well. Lady Tigers got a win last night. They're headed to the Sweet 16. We'll talk about Kim Mulkey's team there. Mark Etheridge from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team is going to be with us 1 hour from right now. Mark just basically toured the entire Southeast. I believe he saw 12 games in 11 ballparks in 11 days, had one doubleheader in Birmingham. But one of those games that he saw was Friday night in Austin, and that was LSU's best performance of the weekend, probably LSU's best performance of the year, if we're being honest about the circumstances and the level of play, when Kate Anderson and Zach Cowan shut down Texas and LSU got a really nice 8-2 win on Friday. Mark was there, also covered the rest of that weekend from afar, so we'll talk to Mark about what he saw from LSU at 2 o'clock. And Sharif Ishak talking Saints at 2:30. So plenty to do here on this Tuesday. Let's get things started the way we start every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Usually I go into a monologue here, and we'll get to that point, but let's toss it to Jacob Beck here first. Beck, you haven't been prepped on this, but I feel like you can handle it. How would you say that LSU's tight end has played the last 3 years?
Well, Mason Taylor was pretty good. Probably the best, one of the best tight ends in school history.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you, Jacob Beck, for that chiming in.
Okay.
And that's what I think most every LSU fan, people that cover the team, would answer, and I would completely agree. Mason Taylor is the most productive tight end in the history of LSU football. And when you lose someone at any position across any sport that has been as productive as anyone else in that position in that sport, the reasonable expectation would be that once that player moves on, you're going to have a really hard time filling those shoes. And as I look at it closely and I start to look at statistics and then start to observe what LSU is going to try to do in Mason Taylor's absence, I don't think LSU is going to take a step back at all. At all. And I have a few reasons for that. Now, Joe Sloan met with the media today, and we're going to hear some of his thoughts on what he's seen from LSU's tight ends. But to kind of preface the conversation, you understand where LSU is at tight end. Trey'Dez Green returns, and you know that he's a freak of nature at 6'7" that can run and jump and literally play SEC basketball. You've got Bauer Sharp, who's a fifth-year college player, who's big and physical and a good athlete, who started as a college quarterback at Southeastern and transitioned to tight end there, and then went to Oklahoma and played in that abysmal offense last year, but did lead them in receiving. And you bring in Donovan Green as well, who had a really nice first season at Texas A&M before some injuries derailed his time there in College Station. But he comes back as a fourth-year college player, and then you got J.D. LaFleur, who will come in as a big physical tight end, and he's got pretty good pedigree. His dad was about as productive as Mason Taylor as a tight end at LSU. So that's what LSU has to work with moving on from Mason Taylor. Before you hear why I don't think LSU is going to step back at all at the tight end spot, let's hear what Joe Sloan believes to be his tight end room and how he feels that group is progressing right now in the spring.
Adding in Bauer and Donovan, but Trey'Dez being back and the growth that he's had, the way he's practiced this spring as a complete player, he's pretty electric. So, and the way Bauer's come in, I think Coach spoke the other day, I saw where he made a comment about his mentality. I think that's been excellent for us. And Donovan's been a very experienced guy that has a level head and can kind of bring a calm, cool demeanor to the group. So I think there's a lot of different pieces that are exciting about that group.
Those guys right now are working with Alex Atkins, who is the new position coach at tight end. You had Slade Nagel move on, and Alex Atkins moves in. Atkins has an offensive line and offensive coordinator background, but he's working with the tight end. And they're very much doing a lot of work in the running game, but certainly you're doing some work out on the perimeter as well. And I believe that you've got a really nice set of skills between the entirety of the group. Bauer Sharp physically resembles Mason Taylor to an extent. Mason Taylor, 6'5", 255. That's pretty much ideal size for a tight end. 6'5", 255 that's plenty tall enough. That's plenty big a frame. And Mason Taylor had to grow into that over his 3 years at LSU, but he did and really looked the part. Bauer Sharp is listed at 6'5", 250. So basically exactly the same. And I think Bauer Sharp, as far as his athleticism goes, is similar to Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor wasn't a great leaper. He wasn't a straight line sprinter. I mean, he's a 3-star recruit coming out of high school. Now, he's got some pretty good genes. Dad's in the Hall of Fame. But just a solid player. And Bauer Sharp brings a lot of that without the productivity that Mason Taylor had at LSU. And then you got Trey'Dez Green, who is 6'7" and is an elite leaper and can run. Is a little bit slender to get down there and block consistently like those guys do, but he's working towards that. And then you got Donovan Green, who is a big physical presence like Sharp would be and can certainly get in there and help in the run game. But what Joe Sloan has enjoyed is kind of the guys working together this spring, and that's what he talked about with Bauer Sharp and Trey'Dez Green.
The cool thing is Bauer and Trey'Dez have really hit it off. Just how those guys are pushing each other and competing with each other. You know, they both have excellent skill sets on the perimeter, but at the same point in time, I think they bring a little bit different things, you know, when it comes athletically. I've heard people describe a tight end room as that you want like a basketball team, right? Everybody can't be the same because we're going to have a lot of different assignments and roles that we ask those guys to play. And I think when you look back, what Coach Kelly's done with tight ends and now what we've done with tight ends since we've been here.
And that's kind of the point, is that Brian Kelly has always had really productive tight ends, dating back to his time at Notre Dame where they were just churning those guys into the NFL. And you look at what Mason Taylor did over his 3 years at LSU. His freshman year, 36 catches, 348 yards, 1 touchdown. As a freshman. They really didn't have any other options, so they went with him. As a sophomore, Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman Trophy. What does Mason Taylor do that year? 55 catches, 546 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. He had about 4.5 catches per game, had about 10 yards per catch, about 45 yards per game. That's what Mason Taylor – I flipped that. That's what Mason Taylor gave you. I flipped the senior year and freshman year. They were backwards. But last year, so Mason Taylor last year in his final year at LSU, you're talking about a guy who had 546 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a season where he averaged 4.5 catches per game and 45 yards per game. That's not astronomical. And when I think about Brian Kelly's offense and what the tight end does and the skill set that they have, like, you wouldn't consider Mike Leach's next quarterback to be someone who couldn't fill in for the next one. The next guy just stepped up and did it. And I think that's kind of what Brian Kelly's tight ends have done. Yeah, the guy that's walking out the door was super productive. You just find the next guy. And I think that Bauer Sharp brings a lot of the same traits that Mason Taylor did. And I think what Trey'Dez Green brings is something completely different, where the upside is just massive. Like, Mason Taylor had 6 touchdowns in his career at LSU. Trey'Dez Green had 2 in the bowl game. He's a matchup problem. I didn't consider Mason Taylor a matchup problem. I considered Mason Taylor an incredible option for his quarterbacks to go to, whether it was Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier. He was consistently open, caught everything around, was huge on third downs. But, like, I wouldn't consider him a matchup nightmare. Trey'Dez Green, that's a nightmare for defensive coordinators. And when you look at what this tight end group could be, you don't even have to just bet on the upside of Trey'Dez Green because you have Bauer Sharp coming in to help. Mason Taylor kind of had to do everything last year and the year before and the year before. Now you've got some versatility. And as Joe Sloan talked about there, it's like, yeah, you want it to be like a basketball team. You don't want everybody doing the kind of same thing. And that's what you've got. But Trey'Dez Green was the guy that he talked about last and basically said he can be really good.
I think you see the emergence of Trey'Dez as we got through the second half of the season, and then you watch his growth this offseason. And I think he's going to speak to the development of this program. His attitude is infectious, man. I mean, his attitude, the way he attacks things, is infectious. He can be as good as he wants to be, and he continues to push every day to do that. I couldn't be more proud of him and excited about him being here.
I've only spoken to Trey'Dez Green one time. And that one time that I talked to Trey'Dez Green was with a group of media when I pulled him off to the side in an exclusive interview. He was meeting with the media in the midweek. And he said during season, he's like, yeah, I'm working on blocking. I try to put a lot of work into that. And I took that seriously. Like, I think that he understood, yeah, I'm really good at running and jumping and catching. In high school, I could go outside and run. They couldn't run with me and jump, and they couldn't jump with me. But, that's not the case anymore. And so to be the best I can be at this position, I'm going to have to be a little bit better blocker. And that quote that he gave stuck with me. And then Brian Kelly said, leading up to the bowl game, when Mason Taylor opted out, and then Kamorian Pimpton got in the transfer portal, so all you had was Trey'Dez Green. He was the only tight end on the roster. And Brian Kelly said that he was, physically banged up because of the December of practice, because of how many run reps he was doing. And remember, LSU was basically breaking an entire new offensive line with Trey'Dez Green in there, so they had to rep a lot in the run game to get those guys ready to play against Baylor. And Trey'Dez Green went in there and didn't complain and got physical. And he's still not a great blocker by all accounts at this point, but he's willing. And that's the most important thing at this point. Because if you're not willing to try, if you're not willing to do it, then it's not going to work. Well, he's willing to try, and he's going to get better. And now he's got some help because Bauer Sharp and Donovan Green can certainly do it. And J.D. LaFleur is going to come in at 260 pounds. He may be able to. So I think that now that you've got a full position group there and not basically just Mason Taylor doing everything, I think you look at what Mason Taylor did, averaged about 500 yards and 2 touchdowns a year, and became the most productive player in the school's history at that position. Those two things don't sound like they go together. So if you just look at, he's the most productive tight end ever, you would think, well, they've got to take a step back there. But if you just consider what he actually did, which was great, it's very much attainable for this tight end group. And I think LSU's tight end play this year is going to be as productive as Mason Taylor was. You're just going to put all those numbers together as opposed to dropping them all in one player's lap. And I feel like that's not an unreasonable expectation that LSU would have really, really strong tight end production this year, even with maybe the best in school history moving on. That's my thought on the LSU tight end position group. I'll have a story up on it on LouisianaSports.net tomorrow as we kind of dive further into spring football. Joe Sloan met with the media today, so I've got a piece coming up on the running game later this afternoon on LouisianaSports.net, and then we'll go to tight ends tomorrow, but I wanted to open that way today. That's our Genesis opening drive. We'll take a time out. When we come back, I've got a weird feeling about tonight's midweek game. I'll tell you why coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So far, LSU's been really good in the midweek, but they have not been but once inside the SEC sandwich where you've got SEC weekends on either side of your midweek game. So they've kind of been like every other game in the first 4 weeks at least. And so tonight's game, I've just got a weird feeling about it. LSU will play Louisiana Lafayette tonight inside Alex Box Stadium, 6:30 on the first pitch there. And the reason I say that is LSU did not play well on Saturday and Sunday. Louisiana Lafayette had a good weekend. They won 2 out of 3 in Mobile against South Alabama. But this is not a great ULL team. You're talking about a team this year that has gotten off to a kind of a clunky start under Matt Deggs here. They have been 500 in league play, and as I mentioned, they had a good weekend in Mobile over the weekend. But they're 11-14 overall, and they're just 2-6 away from home. So it's not a team that's going to like grab a ton of attention, I think, from LSU, like some of the ULL teams of the past maybe could have. And then you look at one huge factor in this game just on the field. That's not even a mentality thing. Like, I don't think Kason Evans is available tonight. He threw 60 pitches on Sunday. He's had 1 day of rest. I don't think he's going out there. That's been your best like dude out of the bullpen. Now, Zach Cowan could theoretically, if you wanted to, something I mentioned yesterday, start Thursday's game. Now, we have no indication from Jay Johnson that he's close to doing that, and maybe he just goes right back to Cade Anderson on Thursday because he's the ace, and that's what LSU decides to do even on a short day rest because you're playing the Thursday game this weekend. But theoretically, Cowan could be available to start the game on Thursday. So if you don't have Cowan or Evans, like, you don't have a lot of guys that you know you can trust out of the bullpen. And you're certainly not throwing Cade Anderson or Anthony Ianson out there. So, like, I think LSU's pitching's a little bit compromised in this game. Now, the good news is that Louisiana Lafayette hasn't really hit at all this year. They've got one guy who's hit an absolute ton. Connor Higgs is hitting .338 with 9 home runs. The rest of his ULL teammates have 12 home runs. So it hadn't been a lot outside of Connor Higgs. Caleb Stelly from right here at Parkview in Baton Rouge has had a nice year. He's hitting .287 with 4 home runs. So those two guys have 13 of the 21 home runs. But only 3 ULL regulars hit over .263. So they have not swung the bat great. That's a good thing for LSU. But who's pitching for the Tigers? So you're probably going to count on your offense to really score some runs. And you're talking about an offense that over the final 13 innings of the weekend only scored 2 runs. Now, I mentioned this in the game preview that I wrote for LouisianaSports.net, but like the last time LSU went on kind of a 2-game drought was the Omaha series. They didn't score in the final 3 innings on Friday and then came back on Saturday and didn't score for the first 8 innings. That was their first loss, where they scored 4 in the 9th but lost 5-4. And so they went a total there of 11 innings where they didn't score. And then in the next 17 games, they scored 7 or more in 16 of them. So my concern level on LSU's offense not scoring a lot in Austin on Saturday and Sunday is 0. Like, I don't have any concern about that. Give me a 12-game sample size, I'll start to go nuts. A game and a half, it's baseball, it happens. But if that's prolonged tonight and you don't have your A guys out of the bullpen, which maybe you do. Maybe Cowan does throw 2 innings tonight. But you're compromised from a pitching standpoint. You're going to need guys who have been inconsistent to pitch. You're going to need William Schmidt. You're going to need Connor Ware. You're going to need Jacob Myers. You're going to need Maverick Rizzi. You're going to need DJ Primo. And you're going to need these guys to step up and get some outs. Jaden Newt may be the starter again this week, maybe not. But some of those guys are going to have to be good for you in this game. And they can, but it's not a sure thing. And statistically speaking, one of these midweek games is going to jump up and get you. Maybe 2 or 3. It's just the way that it usually works out over the course of a season. And LSU's been really good in the midweek up to this point. And it feels like this is what I tweeted when I tweeted out the game preview, like my antennae are up on this one. It's like I just feel like this is one that LSU's really going to have to bring some juice, and I feel like the offense needs to show up, pack an early punch, and put 9 or 10 runs on the board and get out of here. But if they are a little sluggish and kind of look the way they did against what was not elite pitching on Sunday, that's UTSA's former guy who's been in a bullpen in Riojas and then a freshman left-hander. Like, if you look like that against ULL, well, you got some issues. And the other thing about ULL is their offense, while I just laid out, they're not slugging and they're not outside of 2 guys, putting up gaudy numbers offensively. What they want to do is sack bunt and hit and run and steal. Connor Cuff is hitting 129 for this team. He's got 7 stolen bases. Can you imagine how many steals he would have if he was hitting 329? But all it takes is for him to get on base one time and he can take off. Brooks Wright has 7 steals. Higgs, who I mentioned, has 4 steals. Jose Torres has 4 steals. Drew Markle has 6 steals. Like, they want to get back there and run. And LSU's catcher play, we'll see. This is where I think you would like to get Cade Arambidi back there. But do you want to put Cade Arambidi back there in a midweek game where there's going to be a lot of bunting and a lot of stealing? Maybe that's something for the veteran, but you caught Luis Hernandez for 3 games over the weekend. So we'll see how LSU wants to handle that. It's just it's an iffy matchup. And Jay Johnson has said this multiple times the last couple of years. LSU has scrimmaged ULL in the fall is one of their 2 allowed scrimmages. And he does that because he likes to play against a Matt Deggs team that does all of these quirky things, that will run a tricky first and third play, that will drop down safety squeeze bunts and suicide squeeze bunts, that wants to hit and run, that they're going to do some different things. And he wants his team to get exposed to that in an environment that doesn't matter all that much. And this time, it matters. So it's There's just a few aspects of this. LSU may go out there and win the game 13-2. They very well may. They're significantly better than ULL. Significantly. But for all those reasons, I haven't felt this way about a midweek game yet. But for all the reasons I just laid out, this one looks that way because you could usually, on a Tuesday, feel confident that, hey, if you need to throw Case and Evans for 35 pitches over 2 innings to kind of slam the door and solidify things, you can do that. And now you can't because he threw 60 on Sunday. So that security blanket is gone, and then you wonder what the thought process is with Cowan. So, again, like LSU should win the game. If ULL comes out and beats LSU tonight, it's not going to stun me. There have been a lot better ULL teams that have come into the ballpark than this one. But there are just some factors that I've got my antenna up on. So I'll be watching. We'll see. ULL is going to start a left-hander in the game tonight. Let's see. His name is Andrew Herman. He has 7 appearances. Only 2 of them are starts to this point. 25 strikeouts in 28 innings pitched for Herman to this point. So that's some pretty good stuff. The question is, how long do they want him to go? They've got, obviously, conference games to deal with this weekend, and those are the most important things. He went 5 innings against South Alabama in a game that ULL won, and that was on, let me look. I have the date here, but I don't have the day of the week, so I want to make sure that I'm right on that. Yeah, so he pitched 5 innings on Friday and gave up 1 run on 5 hits, struck out 3. So we'll see how much they want to use him in the game. Maybe it's just a deal to get off to a good start to face Curiel and Jones and Dickinson, that they want one of their better guys out there. And then they go to the bullpen. Maybe they want him to go 4 or 5 innings. We'll see. But it's a spot where LSU's a little bit compromised from a pitching rotation. They need to come out and swing the bat. Against the left-hander, I think you'll see Ethan Fry in the lineup. I think that you'll probably see Michael Braswell in there as well. And then when a right-hander comes in, you may see Josh Pearson grab a bat. Maybe Tanner Reeves hits as well. We'll see. But LSU and ULL tonight at 6:30 from the box. You want to listen to that, as always, you can find it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. 6 o'clock pregame show. Chris Blair and Doug Thompson on the call from the box this evening. We'll have a postgame story up at louisianasports.net, and we'll certainly be talking about it on tomorrow's show. LSU and ULL tonight from the box. Let's take a time out. When we come back, Glenn West. We'll talk all 3 LSU sports with the senior writer at Go 24/7. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Every new Genesis purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. And every new Genesis purchase comes with a 3-year complimentary maintenance package. And when they do maintenance at Genesis, they do valet maintenance. So you don't have to go to the dealership. You just give them a call, say, hey, it's time to get things touched up. We need the oil change. We need the air filter. Got to get the wipers redone and the wiper fluid, all that. Okay, we can do it. So they bring a car to you, take your car back to the dealership, handle the maintenance. You never lift a finger. They drive your car right back to you. It can't be any easier. It's a luxury vehicle. It's a luxury experience. It's all part of that experience at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Start your buying process today at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Go see them airline at PICU, across from Women's Hospital. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You work hard every day to pursue a life you love. You put in the time, and it shows. You're forging ahead, chasing a dream, creating something better for the ones you love. You're building your own life. So why not build your own tractor? With John Deere tractors and attachments for almost any need, the Sunshine team can help you do just that. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It is that time of year where basketball in its closing stages, but transfer portal wide open and things happening there. Football in spring workouts, baseball into SEC play. There's a lot going on with LSU, and to read all about it, you can do so at Go247. Glenn West, the senior writer over there, good enough to join us every Tuesday. Does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, hon. How about you?
Doing good. Let's go baseball first. Tigers dropped their first weekend of the season against Texas over the weekend. What was the most concerning part of the 2 out of 3 loss to the Longhorns?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the middle kind of there with the bullpen and just some of the mistakes that were made, I guess, early in the Sunday game as well. That Saturday game I thought was probably not the cleanest LSU has looked this year, but they certainly have a lot of work to do in terms of getting the right pieces in the right places. And I think that's kind of where you kind of learn a lot about yourself early in the season, because they haven't had to face competition like this at this point in the year. And so you're getting guys like William Schmidt and some of these other young pitchers who haven't pitched in the SEC, some of these early growing pains. And I think you got to have that in order to and you got to go through the growing pains first in order to improve later down the road. And so, we're 2 weeks into this thing in the SEC. I'm not hitting the panic button yet on anything with any of these guys. I mean, the LSU spent a ton of resources on this pitching staff to get it to where they feel like it can be a championship kind of roster. And you look at these guys and they're all pumping 95, 96, 97. How many of them can they whittle down here to be able to locate their off-speed pitches for strikes, and really kind of get that fueled in the right direction to help complement what they have from a starting standpoint? Because I don't know that they're ready to make a change yet in that starting group with Shores and Ianson and Anderson. I think that they really feel like that those three are going to be guys that can compete for them in those kind of tough spots in the SEC going forward.
Do you think that's the right decision?
I think it is for now because you look at the bullpen, and I'm not ready to take Zach Cowan or Kason Evans out of the bullpen right now when those are literally the two guys that you can count on in terms of saving and getting you big outs late in games. So if you're telling me that a couple of these other guys are going to be able to mature and pitch some really big innings for LSU over the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks, and we're still talking about Shores and Ianson in particular, struggling to get out of the fourth, fifth innings, then yeah, I could see a situation there where they make a change. But I don't think we've reached that point yet. I think Cowan is a guy that, and Evans for that matter, as we saw on Sunday, are guys that can go 3 or 4 innings for you in closeout situations. And so if you're telling me that you get 4 innings out of Shores or you get 4 innings out of Ianson, but you're able to back them up with 3 or 4 innings of Evans and Cowan, then I think that's a situation that LSU is just going to have to kind of pitch through here over the next couple weeks until some of these other guys are able to start showing that they can consistently throw strikes and get big outs in the end of games.
Of that group, you take out Cowan, you take out Evans, certainly the 3 weekend starters, and then you go to the rest of the group out of the bullpen. Who is a guy, one, that you think needs to take a bigger role and be more effective than he has been the last month?
Yeah, I think William Schmidt has got to be at the top of the list for me. I mean, he's got tremendous upside, tremendous talent. Just a guy that I think has the pitches. He's just got to find the location. He's got to be able to pitch in some more of these big time atmospheres to kind of really get comfortable and kind of I think settle down a little bit. I think it's been a little bit of a rocky start for him in that respect. So he's somebody that I think is going to have to be able to pitch big innings for you if you want to be the team you want to be this year. Another guy I would look towards is Connor Ware. He's had some okay moments, I think, in SEC play last week against Missouri. I think he pitched a total of 1.1 innings or 1.2 innings between the two games that he appeared in. Got all outs, didn't allow a hit or struck a couple guys out. Like, I think he's somebody that you're really going to need to rely on as well from a left-hander perspective. And the other one I'll throw out there is Connor Benj. Like, I think Connor Benj is going to have to be able to pitch much like he did this last weekend, get you out of some situations, some tough situations, but also be able to maybe extend into the next inning. Not be a guy that's only counted on for one or two big outs, but a guy that can get you one and a third or possibly 2 innings here and there. So I would probably label those 3 guys as ones that I'm looking at really hard that just need to be able to pitch consistently in some of these bigger environments.
All right, let's transition over to basketball. Obviously saw Corey Chest into the transfer portal, Tyrell Ward, which we expected, Mike Williams into the transfer portal. What do you think the next 2 weeks are going to look like here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty mass exodus. I think that there are a couple of guys that LSU will try to hang on to, but look, when you go 3-15 in conference play, there's really nobody that I think on the roster that should feel safe. I mean, I think maybe outside of Jalen Reed, if they're able to convince him to come back, his situation was just very unfortunate because it was a season-ending injury, but he's also a guy that has, shown in his past that he can contribute to some winning basketball in the conference with, kind of the play that he had last year when they went 500. So I would expect LSU to make a push to get him back. I'm looking hard at Robert Miller, Curtis Givens, Damian Collins. I think those are kind of the 3 outside of Reed that I think, you maybe could make a good swing at in terms of getting back. We'll see on Victorious Miller and a couple of these other guys, but I would expect a lot of these players to hit the portal here, and from that point on, you got to be aggressive in the portal. I mean, you've got to go get some size, you've got to get some length, you've got to get some shooting, some playmaking. I'm saying all this, and none of it's going to come cheap, but from everything we've heard, LSU's ready to pony up a little bit more in terms of resources to get at least the talent level that LSU needs to kind of compete on a consistent basis in this conference.
How confident are you they can do that? There's 7 teams in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you because it's a tough sell. I mean, all these other teams have money too. All these other teams have success that LSU hasn't been able to show over the last 3 years. So I think they're just going to have to be really mindful of the evaluation process and the players that they target in the portal and making sure that it's a good blend of guys that are kind of high highly ranked, but also maybe are a little bit maybe under the radar of other programs. I'm not really sure how that process goes, but they're going to have to be really diligent in their evaluation process is what I'd say to that, because you're going to have to probably add 6 or 7 transfers over the next month or so, and I can't imagine any of them can be swings and misses. Like, you've got to be able to at least get some competent players in here that can not only help you win more games in the SEC, but potentially get you into the SEC into the NCAA tournament, because that's where this program is right now. Like, they have to get into a tournament type of picture next year, or some major questions get raised.
Glenn West is senior writer over at Go 24/7. Let's talk a little football to close thing out here. Anything that has caught your eye over 2 weeks of spring? I know you all met with Joe Sloan earlier today as well.
Yeah, we met with Joe today, and he said some interesting things, I think, about the offensive line and just kind of the competition that's in that room right now. You certainly see that when you're out there, and kind of the rotating that they're able to do through a full practice. But now that they have all the transfers in with Josh Thompson, I'm going to be very curious to see, kind of by the end of spring, if that offensive line doesn't get a little bit of clarity to it, like if there's a little bit of consistency in the lineups that we see towards the end of spring. I think Nussmeier has looked really solid, hasn't made a whole ton of turnovers. I think there's, at least from the practices we've been out there, he's thrown 2, but he's also made a lot of really good plays and getting a number of different guys involved. And so I think from an offensive perspective, LSU's trending in the right direction. We still, I think, have to wait and see on the run game. That's kind of going to be the big question mark for in that respect. But and then defensively, I think I really liked what I've seen from the pass rushers, especially the new pass rushers, whether it's Jack Pyburn or Patrick Payton and Jamari Butler. Those are 3 guys that I think are going to play significant roles, but also Gabriel Relaford. Like, I think he's taken a huge step here in year 2, and a guy that I think is going to be a real contributor here for this team as a every down or certainly most down situations for LSU.
You mentioned the offensive line. Still, we're seeing a lot of DJ Chester at center. Braylon Moore didn't mix in with the first team on Saturday. How do you kind of handicap that situation at center?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think Braylon Moore, like to your point on Saturday, he probably had more 11-on-11 snaps than DJ Chester did, but Chester's been the one that has really kind of been working in the first team for a lot of the early portions of practice, and then kind of as the practice has gone on, at least through the 2 full ones that we've been able to see, they've been mixing and matching a little bit more there. I still have a tough time believing that you bring in a guy like Braylon Moore and he's not going to end up being your starting center. Like, I think he's going to wind up being that guy for LSU. But I think it's a credit also to DJ Chester and the development maybe that he's made over the last couple months. And Chester's a guy that's also getting some run at guard. So I think that, kind of an ideal situation here would be to have Moore at center, guard at Chester at guard, and Thompson potentially is your other guard or potentially your right tackle. Like, I mean, I think there's a lot of different options right now that LSU is still kind of sifting through as they reach the middle part here of spring practice.
I'm feeling generous today. If I gave you a crisp $10 bill and told you to wager that on who's going to lead LSU in receptions this coming football season, who would you wager that on?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to go Aaron Anderson. I really liked what I've seen from him in terms of just his 3rd year. He's looked really crisp in his route running. Nussmeier continues to really rely on him in key passing situations. There was a 3rd down drill that they were doing, and I think he hit Anderson on a couple different opportunities there for first downs in one of the 11-on-11 periods. I think he's going to have a massive year for LSU. He's the highest returning receiver in terms of receptions and yards, and I just think he's going to be able to build on that this year as well, and be a really great complement to what they have with their new additions in Anderson and Barry Brown and Xavier and Thomas. Like, I think Anderson's going to be the guy that I think LSU or Nussmeier really turns to in critical situations again.
Glenn West, he's a senior writer at Go 24/7. You're looking for your team coverage and your recruiting coverage. You can find it all there at go247.com. Glenn, thanks for the time. We'll talk next week.
All right. Thanks, Hunt. Appreciate it.
You betcha. Oh, man, they're calling me cheap in the Value Ford chat. Shane LeBlanc says that statement proves Hunt is cheap. $10, why not $100? I wasn't going to give Glenn $100.
Yeah, that's not realistic.
Bet. I think that it was more of a $10 bet type of deal.
I agree.
Although I also think that might be a good station survey. Who's at this point in the calendar? Who do you think LSU's leading receiver is going to be?
You'll give them $10 if they're right.
No, I'll forget about it by then.
Okay.
So by the time we get to December, I won't remember that we did this segment, and I won't give anybody $10.
Well, I could write it down somewhere if you want me to.
I'll pass on that. That's just going to put me out $10. So we'll go ahead and not do that, and then we'll just continue with the content there.
Okay.
Take a time out. Come back and close out hour number 1 with the results in the PMAC last night. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, just phenomenal to work with. I've had some in-the-weeds insurance conversations with the folks over at Highland Insurance, and I know that's not the most fun for you to think about, but the fact of the matter is if you are a business owner, a CFO, or somebody in risk management that has to handle the commercial insurance, like you realize how important it can be and how costly it can be. It can be expensive. So if you're going to spend a lot of money on something, wouldn't you want it to be correct? And oftentimes it's not. And that's what the Highland Insurance Group, that's why they win. That's why they get business, why they keep clients, because they can go in and look at your commercial insurance policy and identify the shortcomings. Whether your limits are a little bit off or one of your locations is incorrect, you've got exclusions you didn't know about that could cost you big time down the line. Those issues sometimes aren't brought up. It's just, what can we save you on the front end with the premium? That's not how it's going to work at the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carver and his team are experts in the insurance field. And if you're looking for a second option or a first option to be your new commercial insurance broker, the Highland Insurance Group is one that I certainly do recommend. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Parish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs.
From your hometown, parishbuilt.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Not a lot of drama in the Assembly Center last night.
There wasn't the first half. First half, it was a 1-point game.
It was.
And then the third quarter happened.
Yeah. I mean, scoring 101 points in a second-round game. Like, in the first round, it gets a little out of hand. I saw UConn. At one point, there was a live line on UConn in the first round. It was like 81.5. I think they won by 79. So sometimes in the women's tournament, the first round can get a lot of hand. Second round should be at least functional. We saw Jackson State push LSU a little bit. Well, that was actually in the first round. But last night, my goodness, for LSU to go out there and win the game by 30 points, and that was 30 points with the nation's leading scorer in Tanea Latson getting 30 points, but LSU was just on fire. You figure you're going to potentially get that kind of stuff from Michaela Williams and Anissa Morrow, and they were phenomenal. Michaela Williams, 10 of 12 from the floor, made all 3 of her threes, scored 28 points. Anissa Morrow chipped in with 26 points. And then you had Samaya Smith really step up and play well in the front court. She made all 9 of her field goal attempts and scored 20 points. She also had 6 assists. Anissa Morrow had 7 assists. So that's great work from LSU, who was excellent in the game. They win it 101-71. The most encouraging thing for me has been that it appears that Flau'jae Johnson looks pretty good out there. Like, I don't see a significant issue, and that has to be a concern when she sits the last 3 weeks, basically. It has a boot on her foot for a lot of that. They are not capable of going any further than this right here without her being good, because the rest of the way, starting with NC State, is some really quality stuff. So, and it doesn't, there's not even any upsets that could compromise that. Like, everybody that's good is still in. I wrote this down, and the women's Sweet 16 is 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, a 4 and 3 5s. So that's all that's left. So there are no gimmies the rest of the way for LSU, and so we feel like every year Kim Mulkey gets her team ready to go, and they're pretty well ready to go. You run into Caitlin Clark, that's one thing. This is not going to be that, but there are some really good teams left on their schedule. It appears to me that LSU is playing good basketball. They're certainly really, really good on offense right now. Now, I know how the season ended. You had 3 losses there down the stretch, and I know that Flau'jae was not involved there at the end. So that's one piece to the puzzle. But I trust Kim Mulkey's defensive coaching, and right now they're really playing well on offense. They've got their flaws. They don't have a true point guard. They don't have a great big. I mean, if you get Samaya Smith to go out there and play 36 minutes and score 20 points and go 9 of 9 from the floor, that's really good. They haven't gotten a ton of that. But they've got their issues. But now they're to the point where it kind of starts. I think for a Skip team, it started in the regional. For a Kim Mulkey team, it kind of starts in the Sweet 16. I don't mean to disparage, and minimize the effort that the women put in to win those 2 games. But as Kim Mulkey said after the game last night, we didn't come here to get to the Sweet 16, and that's the point. In this sport that is so top heavy, and there are really only 10 or 12 teams that can compete at the top level. Sometimes it's as few as 3 or 4. This is the sport. This is about where the season starts. And Flau'jae gets a couple of days off now, get off those feet, and you go out there and see what you can do. But certainly you couldn't have asked for much more in the first 2 games in the tournament than what LSU gave you, right, Beck?
Yeah, it was impressive that third quarter. So Tanea Latson for Florida State, she had 23 in the first half, and she just couldn't keep that up, and then that was why Florida State ended up falling off. But LSU had 101 points, and they made 3 3-pointers. Yeah. So the offense was just humming. Yeah, and if Samaya Smith plays like that, then the LSU is going to be a very good test for anybody in the next few rounds.
You mentioned the third quarter, LSU 10 of 17 from the floor and 10 of 10 from the free throw line. Florida State 3 of 17 from the floor and didn't attempt a free throw.
Yeah,
and that's how a game gets away from you really, really quick. I can just imagine Florida State's coach just in the third quarter, you see the freight train start rolling. There's not that much Florida State can do to stop that. Again, in this sport, it's top heavy, and when the top teams get humming, everybody else is in big trouble. And it was very apparent that they were in big trouble in the third quarter, and big trouble showed up in a big way.
Yeah, and again, just like with the men's, where there's 7 SEC teams left, there's 6 SEC teams left in the women's. So it's just the SEC in basketball in both men and women is just ridiculous.
It is very, very good, and obviously huge news out of LA with Watkins going down with a torn ACL. As they still routed Mississippi State, but that's a big development in the tournament. So we'll come back, and we got a lot to do in hour number 2. Mark Etheridge was at LSU Texas on Friday. He'll join us to talk about that and the rest of the weekend, and some SEC baseball as well. So we'll step aside for Sports Center and come back with Mark Etheridge next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Pearl Jam, and the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Stanford fired football coach Troy Taylor. Last week, ESPN reported that 2 outside firms found he bullied and belittled female athletic staffers in 2023 and 2024. A devastating injury to a megastar has had a major impact on the women's NCAA tournament and one team's title chances. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, USC guard Juju Watkins out the remainder of the tournament with a torn ACL. ESPN women's college hoops analyst and Naismith Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo.
It's a huge loss for the tournament because, again, she's one of the game's biggest and brightest stars. I don't know that any of the teams left in the tournament have a player who is as important to their success as Juju Watkins is to USC's success.
Trojans national title odds now 22-1 at ESPN Bet. This NFL offseason, Vikings watch Sam Darnold sign elsewhere. The same with Daniel Jones. Passed on Aaron Rodgers for now. Reportedly moving forward with J.J. McCarthy as QB1. That, though, is news to McCarthy. Told the Up and Adams show on FanDuel TV, Minnesota hasn't told him he's the starter.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, we continue to be on Aaron Rodgers' watch. I'll tell you why, no matter where he goes, it won't end well. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Sharif Ishak talking Saints in 30 minutes. I'm going to talk to Sharif about a number of topics with the New Orleans Saints, but I want to specifically focus on the defensive back situation and how they may try to remedy a little bit of that in the offseason heading into the 2025 campaigns. We'll do that 30 minutes from right now. Time to talk some baseball. Mark Etheridge, good enough to give us a little bit of time. He of D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team. Mark just basically toured the entirety of the Southeast over the last week and a half, so we appreciate him giving us a little bit of time. Mark, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm finally back home and trying to rest up after seeing 14 of the 16 teams in the last, 2 weeks.
That's pretty impressive, and that's a lot of travel time. So I know that's going to take some time to recover from, but again, we appreciate it. I know that you saw LSU on Friday, and I wrote in my series recap after the game on Friday and the first 5 innings on Saturday, I was thinking LSU might be the best team in college baseball, and then they didn't show up for the last 15 innings of the weekend. But what did you see from LSU on Friday against Texas?
Well, Cade Anderson was really good. I mean, he's what you're looking for in a Friday night ace. I guess he's improved so much over last year. Last year he had his moments, especially in midweek, but when he got the opportunities on the weekend, it just wasn't there. And he has, I guess, matured. He's developed his body. He's got more velo. He's just become that guy. All right, that Friday night, he's got the makeup. He's got the stuff. And he's going to be a handful for anyone all year on Fridays. So that was probably the good part. I mean, that and Jared Jones. I mean, just watching him mature, just seeing him over the years, moving from a slugger into a guy who's really a hitter. He's got much better plate discipline. I saw him take a ball the other way for a big RBI hit Friday night that he couldn't have done, in his past years. So that's definitely on the plus side, absolutely.
And then you had the negative side, which LSU showed on Saturday and Sunday, where the bullpen ran into some issues and the offense went cold. How concerning is either of those?
Well, I think part of that is Texas is really good. They are really patient offensively. They are going to make you throw strikes, and they're going to make you compete in the zone. And LSU had not seen anyone like that. It was certainly their toughest road environment. It's against a good team that's going to pressure you under any circumstances. And I feel like LSU will have learned a lot from going through that. I do wonder, we had said all along what a big advantage the LSU pitching depth would be. And that was not the case over the weekend. And certainly the top 3, 4 guys, 5 guys were solid. And after that, there was a drop-off. And that was, kind of surprising for me anyway.
Let's talk Texas, because you got a good look at them on Friday, and certainly been watching them a little bit more closely this year that they're in the SEC where you cover. What you said they're really good. I mean, are you a little bit surprised at what Texas is right now in year 1 under Jim Schlossnagle?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good coach. He's going to win. I think I'm a little surprised it's happening so quickly. Going in and sweeping Mississippi State on the road, that was loud, and then taking the next series over LSU. The big thing for me, though, is Texas has to prove they can do it. Anyone can get up for a weekend or two. It's the week after week, and that's going to be new for a lot of these players. Certainly not for the coaching staff. They've been through it. So that is an advantage, but that's the next thing you're looking for is how they handle success, how they handle being able to compete week after week, because that's the challenge for all of these SEC teams. The other thing I would say about Texas, their first 5, 6 pitchers are really good, and then after that, there are some questions. And I wonder if a team can get into that bullpen, they get to the starter early, and start cycling through some people. If you'll see some big numbers put up against Texas as pitchers.
You mentioned Mississippi State. I think you've seen them a couple of times, certainly at least once, and LSU will welcome Mississippi State to Alex Box this weekend for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What do you make of the Bulldogs at this point?
Yeah. With you mean Mississippi State or Georgia?
Mississippi State.
Yeah, Mississippi State. I think the big thing for me with Mississippi State is how they're able to find the right pitchers in the right roles. And I feel like they are able – they have plenty of options. They just haven't quite found the right guy in the right spot. And then offensively, the top of the lineup's been pretty good, but they're not getting a lot from the bottom, and that's in this league, that's a problem. And then defensively, the day I saw them, they made 5 errors, 4 in the first, really – I guess, with no outs in the second, they already had 4 errors and 5 unearned runs. And you just can't compete in the SEC doing that. I think that's the concern for me is they've got some things that they need to figure out, and they're in a hole. Mississippi State's a program that expects to host regionals, and they can't – I mean, it's going to be almost impossible to get back to that, 17-win mark that they need in order to do that when you start 0-6.
Yeah, it's not a great spot to be, and that's where Mississippi State finds themselves. You mentioned Georgia. I was really impressed with their ability to go down there, Liam Peterson or not, and hit the baseball the way they did in Gainesville. They've been awesome through 2 weeks. How good is Wes Johnson's team?
Yeah, that offense is legit. They put up monster numbers at home, and we wondered what that would look like once they got out of Foley Field, because it does play small. And we got our answer because they just pummeled the Florida pitching staff. Certainly, Florida's got some injuries. You mentioned Liam Peterson's out. Pierce Capola's out. Those are their top 2 pitchers. But Florida was going to need to get through that series with more than 2 pitchers, and the other guys they put in just did not have success. So I am a bit concerned. I think if Florida can get healthy, they can get back in this thing. They're certainly talented enough. But them playing Tennessee and Georgia in the first 2 weeks, arguably the 2 best teams in the country, certainly doing that with a limited pitching staff was a problem. But then you got Georgia, and they pitched better over the weekend. That had been a problem. You may recall they've been giving up 4- and 5-run innings and then having to come back, and they always did. But they pitched really well, especially they moved Brian Curley, who was a closer, moved him into the Saturday starter role, and I think he gave up 2 hits in 5 innings. I mean, he's a difference maker. I mean, it's 100 miles an hour, and it's a big arm.
I'm looking at LSU's schedule, and one of the things that I'm keeping in mind as we progress through this SEC slate is that LSU's last 3 games are at South Carolina. And South Carolina's 1-5 under Pulmonary in his first year there, obviously, and they've got Tennessee coming to Columbia this weekend. That's not going to be a picnic. Is it possible by the time LSU gets to that series in Week 10 of the SEC slate that South Carolina's kind of been buried?
It could be. It really could be that they're in too big a hole. I mean, any of these teams that start out 1-5, 0-6, you got to sweep somebody to get back in this thing. And I feel like that's the question that we all look at as this league just adds more talented teams. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma come in, somebody's getting losses every week, and I feel like that's going to be a problem for really any of these teams like Florida or Texas A&M or anybody who has the talent to make a run. But so I don't know that South Carolina's talented enough. They certainly have some good players, but in this league, it takes more than that. You've got to be able to make the crunch time plays and be able to find ways to win those 50-50 games, and they just haven't been able to do it so far.
You're a college baseball fan and LSU fan. The crew at D1 Baseball does an awesome job over the SEC Extra tab. You can also find Highway to Hoover wherever you find your podcast. He and Joe Healy do a great job. You hear Joe here every Thursday, and we appreciate a little bit of time here from Mark Etheridge. Thanks, man. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Anytime, man. Thanks.
He is Mark Etheridge. That's something that I'm filing away that I mentioned there at the back end with Mark. That's a favorable final 3 SEC games for LSU. Last year you had Ole Miss coming to the box and they weren't great and they weren't a tournament team. Sometimes you end up. I remember LSU needed to make some noise in the final weekend of the regular season. Early in Palmineri's time, I think it was the first year. Maybe it was the year before that in Smoke's year. I didn't look this up, so I'm just off the top of my head from 2006 or 2007. And they had 3 games with Vanderbilt. I think it was Palmineri's first year when they didn't make the tournament, and they were close there, but they had to go to play Vanderbilt. It was like the David Price Vanderbilt, and they got swept. And so sometimes that's your last weekend. Like if you had a trip to Knoxville in the final weekend, like that's a tough go. And LSU gets South Carolina. And right now, South Carolina's 1-5. They got swept by Arkansas over the weekend, and the final score of that series in total was 35-9. So it was just a bludgeoning up in Fayetteville. They also lost 2 out of 3 to Oklahoma. And now you've got Tennessee coming to Columbia, and I think they're going to get swept. And I think they're going to be 1-8 at that point. And so at that point, they're going to leave and go on the road to play Mississippi State and Texas A&M in 2 weekends. Now, I don't think State or Texas A&M are great, but that's 6 straight road games when you're 1-8 in the league. And so if you start to think about what could be on South Carolina's players' minds that last weekend, if they, after 27 games are somewhere in the neighborhood of 7-20, I think that's possible. I don't think South Carolina's very good. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of variables there, a lot of baseball to play, and trying to forecast individually what everybody's going to do is probably a fool's errand. But I'm just looking at LSU's schedule and kind of how this thing needs to shape out and what LSU needs to do week over week to get where they need to be. And that's part of it. Part of it's got to play better than you did over the weekend. But part of it is what does your schedule dictate? Like last year we saw, the early portion was brutal, the late portion was light, and that's how it played out. That last 3 games in Columbia that weekend, I think is worth thinking about if you're an LSU fan and how this needs to go. I mean, if you feel like you only need to get a game or 2 in that last weekend to put yourself in great position to be a host or hopefully a top 8, that's a favorable spot to go get a game or 2. Because that's not a great South Carolina team at this point. So that's way down the road, but appreciate Mark Etheridge for giving us a little bit of time here on this Monday. We'll take a time out, come back with more Sharif Ishak in 15 minutes of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. One of the things that David always asks me to talk about when we have our discussions is those tub-to-shower conversions because they do them so frequently. If this kind of adequately paints the picture of your bathroom currently, then you may need to give David Duvall a call. He does this all the time. If you've got one of those stand-in showers that's just a tiny little square that you stand in and you've got that big, huge bathtub that you never use, well, all the time David will go in and turn that stand-in shower into a closet and then take that tub out and put a big walk-in shower there. If that sounds like something you'd like to explore, well, David Vaughn and his team are happy to do it. That's both of their expertise baked into one situation. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com. Financing is available. They've got reviews from their satisfied clients. They've got pictures of their great work. It's all there at onebathandclosets.com. If you'd like to give a look at giving your bathroom a new shot of life, One Bath and Closets is happy to help you with it. It's onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team colors, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
LSU and ULL tonight from the box. If you missed my preview in the first hour, it was in the second segment of the show back at 1:15. I've also got a piece up at LouisianaSports.net that previews the game tonight. And I talked about how I've kind of got a feeling about the game tonight. That's, a little bit cliche, and I can't be certain. But it just feels like a spot that LSU is a little bit compromised from a pitching perspective, with Case and Evans unavailable, and potentially could be holding Zach Cowan to be more impactful on the weekend. I mean, that's a guy that you figure you're going to get a lot of outs of in a weekend. So how do you pitch tonight? And I have just a map out. Now, nothing ever goes exactly according to plan, but this is how I've mapped this out. If it were to go perfectly, here's how I think it could look. First, you look at the starter, and then I look at the closer, and then I try to fill in the gaps. I think it's reasonable to expect Jaden Newt to start. I would not be surprised in the least if Connor Ware or William Schmidt started the game. I would be shocked if either of them went 5 innings, but I think it's reasonable that either one of them could start. I think Jaden Newt will probably start. He started the game last week, looked really good doing it. And that's a guy, I think you could get 3 innings out of Jaden Newt. I think it's reasonable for Jaden Newt to go out there and give you 4 innings. 3 innings, sorry. He gave you more than that last week. 3 innings would be good. At that point, early in the game, fairly low leverage, in the 4th inning, I would go to Connor Ware for 1 inning. 1 inning. Get back on track. He faced one hitter over the weekend, walked him with a wild pitch. Get him back in there and get on the hill for 1 inning in the 4th. In the 5th, I'm going to William Schmidt for 1 inning. He was not good on Saturday. Came in, 3-run homer, couple of walks, double, pitching from behind constantly. You got to get him back on the horse. Midweek games are a great palate cleanser, okay? The taste in Connor Ware and William Schmidt's mouth from that trip to Austin is not going to be good. But the midweek can be a palate cleanser, especially against a team that's not swinging the bat very well, and ULL is not swinging the bat very well. So that's what I would do for the first 5 innings of the game. Newt for 3, Ware for 1, Schmidt for 1. Then I would hand the ball to Maverick Rizzi, say, go get me 6 outs. This is a guy who Jay Johnson said after the first week of SEC play, the first week of play this year, back in February. He said, Maverick Rizzi might lead us in appearances. That's what they thought of him at that point. Now, it hasn't materialized that way, and Rizzi hasn't been as good recently as he looked early on. His ERA now up to 5.19, but he's thrown 8 2/3 innings. The strikeout numbers aren't as high as I thought they would be at just 6, and the walk number too high at 7. But that's a guy that they can try to develop. When I was talking yesterday about the options in this pitching staff, I just need 3 of this group to step forward. It's DJ Primo, William Schmidt, Jaden Newt, Maverick Rizzi, Connor Benj, Connor Ware. That's 6 guys. I didn't even mention Jacob Myers. I don't know if you can trust his command, but I just need 2 or 3 of that group to step up and really be dependable. I'm not asking for 9 guys. I'm asking for 6. And so Rizzi could be one of those guys. I need 2 innings from Rizzi tonight. DJ Primo is good enough to give you an inning, probably in a spot where there are a couple left-handers coming up. And then I would go to Connor Benj to close it. I think he's able at this point to go out there and get 3 outs. Benj worked over the weekend on Saturday. He went an inning in 2/3. That was his only time. So Benj threw 36 pitches on Saturday. I think he's available to go an inning tonight. So I've got this roadmap. And again, nothing ever goes to plan. Nobody asked me, but that's what it could look like, hypothetically, if LSU was going to hold Zach Cowan and, of course, not use Kason Evans, who threw 60 pitches on Sunday. Newt for 3, Ware for 1, Schmidt for 1, Rizzi for 2, Primo for 1, Benj for 1. That did not include any time for Grant Fontenot, did not include any time for Jacob Myers, who will probably pitch in the game tonight, did not include any time for Cade Woods, Chandler Dorsey, Dalton Beck, Cooper Williams. There are a lot of guys that LSU can go to. But that, to me, was LSU's best. That's the best foot they could put forward tonight. Tuesday games are always a little bit interesting when you start on Thursday. And I can't give a full analysis of what LSU is going to do on the mound tonight without knowing what they're going to do Thursday. Because if you throw Cade Anderson on Thursday, then you have a reasonable expectation that he's going to get you through 6 innings and could be more. If you go bullpen day, well, you need more guys available. If you're going to throw Zach Cowan to start the game and see if he can get you through 60 pitches, well, then you're still going to have to use an extended amount of your bullpen. So there are layers to this decision, and some of the important information for making the decision I don't have, because I don't know what Jay Johnson's planning on doing on the weekend. So there are a number of ways to chop this up. There's a part of me that says let Connor Ware start the game and let him be in a controlled situation, controlled environment, controlled warm-up, controlled time to enter the game, controlled time to exit the game. Doesn't have to worry about long innings or anything. You warm up, you're pitching right at 6:32, and you're out. Same thing goes for William Schmidt. I could hear a reason to give him that routine, that structure, and say, hey, I know that your time on the mound did not go well on Saturday. Let's get you back out there in this game. You know you're going out there at 6:32. You know you're throwing 18 pitches. You're sitting down. So maybe that's what they do. I'm choosing in this model to give Jaden Newt a little bit more runway and eat a few more innings. I don't know how he feels about starting versus coming out of the bullpen. Like, there are some things I just don't know. But I'm looking at a way to get through this game without Kason Evans and without Zach Cowan, because Evans has been your security blanket. You know you can go to him late and nail things down against a lesser team. And ULL is a lesser team. If you missed this early in the show, like, ULL has gotten off to a sub-500 start. They played well over the weekend. They went to Mobile and got a 2 out of 3 series victory against South Alabama, and that's a nice go of it. But you're still a team that's 11-14. Opened the season, lost 2 out of 3 to San Jose State at Tig Moore. Then you play Nebraska in a 3-game set. You win 2 out of 3 against a pretty good Nebraska team. They lost a midweek game to McNeese over in Lake Charles. Then they played UC Irvine in a 3-game set that was in Irvine, and they got swept in that weekend set. They played DBU and won that game 6-5. Then they came back and played. A 3-game set with DBU, and they lost 2 of 3. So it hasn't been a great go. They've lost to McNeese twice now. Troy got after them in the first 2 games of that conference opening series in the Sun Belt, but they came back and won an 18-14 game in Game 3. So it's not a great ULL team. But my concern tonight is not LSU's offense. I think LSU's offense is going to be just fine. My concern tonight is LSU getting through on the mound, because you've just had some wobbles. So this would be a really good time against a team that's only got 3 guys hitting over 268 on the season. Go out there and pitch it and get it done and get a win, and then move on to SEC play against a Mississippi State team that's also struggling a little bit. So that's a thought on tonight's game between LSU and Louisiana at Lafayette. The game will crank up at 6:30. You can start listening at 6 o'clock over on Eagle 98.1, our sister station, flagship for LSU. We'll have a post-game story up at louisianasports.net this evening. Speaking of this evening, if you're listening to the show right now and would like to go get a good slice of pizza, cold beer, watch some sports on TV, and play sports trivia, you can do that at Pizza by Rones tonight, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, Pizza by Rones on Perkins, sports trivia. You can win gift cards. As I mentioned, they got great pizza, fantastic wings as well, cold beer, all the drinks you could want. It's a fantastic spot. We kind of made it our new home on Tuesday nights for sports trivia. So come on by and see us at Pizza by Rones. We'll be there at 8 o'clock. Have you out of there a little bit after 9. So not a late night over at Pizza by Rones. We'll be playing some sports trivia, so hope to see y'all out there this evening. All right, we'll come back with Sharif Ishak. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level to the highest end, comes with the same safety features. And those safety features have earned every vehicle in the line top IHA safety picks. Some of them top safety picks plus. We know that safety is really, really important when you're shopping for a vehicle. You can be assured when you shop at Genesis that you're being taken care of from that perspective. Yeah, it's an incredible line of vehicles. It's stylish and sleek and comfortable. They've got all the bells and whistles that you could want. It's a luxury vehicle. It's also incredibly safe. Get on by and see them at Airline and Pico. If you're looking for a car in Baton Rouge, you're probably on Airline Highway. Just make one more stop right there at Pico. Check out the folks at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Their staff is incredible. They will help you every step of the way. You'll feel like a guest at the dealership as opposed to a customer, and you'll be thrilled with your decision to be a Genesis driver. It's a luxury brand of vehicles at a reasonable price. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You work hard every day to pursue a life you love. You put in the time, and it shows. You're forging ahead, chasing a dream, creating something better for the ones you love. You're building your own life. So why not build your own tractor? With John Deere tractors and attachments for almost any need, the Sunshine team can help you do just that. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer Show Tuesday edition here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. This time of the week, we always go down to New Orleans and chat with our guy Sharif Ishak from WDSU in the Big Easy. Sharif joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, how are you?
I feel better if Saturday and Sunday were better.
They'll be all right. It's just 2 out of 30. They've got to find a way to win 18 of them. They'll be okay. And they're on track to do that. So we'll see what they can do this weekend against Mississippi State. But I appreciate the thought. Let's talk some New Orleans sports, specifically the Saints. I want to talk about a couple of young guys, first-round picks that the Saints have now brought into the fold that are going to need to be potential cornerstones of this rebuild of the roster. And it's Taliesin Fuaga and Brian Brzee. How do you feel about those guys? We'll start with Fuaga after his first year and their potential to be Pro Bowl-type players that are cornerstones in the next era.
Yeah, Fuaga, fantastic. What a fantastic rookie season he had. I think he might have exceeded expectations by a little bit. I mean, look, when they drafted Ryan Ramczyk, they were looking for a cornerstone, and now they found, their future cornerstone in Taliesin Fuaga. Best abilities, availability. He was available pretty much the entire season. I'd have to look to see if I think he might have played in almost every game except for maybe one. Yeah, I'd have to look back at the stats, but he was effective whenever he played, and I think that that bodes well for the offensive line future-wise. I mean, and especially if Trevor Penning can continue playing better, and if everyone can just stay healthy, Hunt, to be honest with you, and they just got to find that left guard. But in terms of Fuaga, I just thought he was aggressive. The point of attack was fantastic for him last season. He did everything they asked him to do. I mean, he's only going to get better, and I think that was maybe one of their best draft picks in a very long time.
I would concur with that. I think I was skeptical of moving a college right tackle over to left tackle at the next level, but he appeared to make that transition very, very seamlessly, and I thought had a phenomenal rookie year, and I think he's a Pro Bowl type player in time in New Orleans. Now, Brzee, statistically speaking at least, was really good at rushing the passer. Those who dive deeper into the film may say he may need to work on some things as a run stopper, but how do you feel about Brzee in the middle of that Saints defensive front?
And I think he would agree with that. He said that last offseason when I caught up with him one-on-one during training camp in California. He said the same exact thing. He's like, I need to work on my run defense. And I think that's where it's going to have to progress for him this offseason going into next year. He's gotten the pressure on quarterbacks. He's gotten in the backfield, but sometimes he goes lost in the run defense. And that's just, you can't be bad in a run game as a defensive tackle in the 3-4 system. So he's going to have to, prove to Brandon Staley and that defensive staff that he can actually do it. Yeah, maybe they can tap even more potential out of him, which they should. He's still a young, good player, I think. In my opinion, I think he has a chance to really elevate his game under this new staff. So I think that would be the one knock on him going into this offseason and into next year is, can he make that happen in terms of his run defense? That's an important part. You've got to be able to play a little bit of run defense in that 3-4.
Who else among the very young players are you looking at to emerge and become stars? I think Rashid Shaheed fits into that bucket. I don't know how you feel about Kendre Miller. I don't know if Pete Werner fits into that bucket either. And then certainly you've got Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor out at corner. Like, who do you feel of the young players who are under contract for a few more years can really take a step up?
To me, and I think it once again, I'll go back to last training camp, it has to be Alontae Taylor. He's the guy that said, like, if I'm going to be paid, no matter slot or, outside, I have to play like I'm the number one guy. And I think for me, I need to see it more this year. He struggled last year when he played as the one corner for them on the outside. He really did struggle. And I thought he would be very good. He struggled. He'd even tell you he struggled. And he was excited when they brought Brandon Staley on. So once again, he's another guy. I think that maybe Staley and company can just figure out a way with him, because he and Kool-Aid are going to be the 1-2 guys. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It does not matter. I think those two guys have to show me they can do it on the field. I think Alontae is probably a little frustrated that it didn't happen last year, and that's okay. The season wasn't great, but now they have a chance with a good defensive staff. I think that he is going to have that bounce back year. I think having him on the outside is going to be beneficial for him. Offensive side, I mean, look, I just want to see Chris Olave stay healthy. Man, he's gotten beaten up, man. Those concussions really are a serious thing. I just want to see him stay healthy, because I truly think he's talented. I know he's not the biggest receiver. I do think he has the talent to be, a Pro Bowler. I do think he can be an All-Pro. It all depends on the quarterback, of course. I just want to see more. I keep saying I want to see more from all these players, because they're young and they have that talent and that potential. But I think with Chris, he has all the talent in the world. Just got to stay healthy. And if he can stay healthy, he can have what he did in his rookie season and more. I just think that he's that good. Not the biggest, but I think he's that good. He's got to be a little smoother. He's got to be a little more, a little conscientious and trying to find a way to stay healthy and stay on the field for this offense.
Look, you mentioned the injuries with Olave, and that's a huge piece. And if I bring Kendre Miller's name up, you're just going to talk about injuries. So if I just take injuries off the board, because we know if he's not healthy, he's not going to help. Is there a chance that he can help if he's healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kendre is good. I do think he's good. I think he got the short end of the stick under Dennis Allen. I think that was really a thing that Dennis didn't want to play him. I mean, I think Kendre he's a big bruising back. When he plays, he's good. I think that I feel like he is going to have that solid season this year. I really do. But that doesn't stop them from drafting another running back possibly. I know they got a bunch of guys on the board with Clyde and Alvin, and they do have Kendre, but I still think maybe that's a spot they might address. But yeah, I like Kendre. I do. I think he's got the talent. I think some players need that new reset button with a new coaching staff, and I think that with Kellen, I think they'll find a way. I think they'll find a way to get more out of him. I think he's good. I really do think he's good. I think maybe he had the short end of the stick last year with Dennis and that staff. So I expect him once again to have a good season.
Let's swing things all the way across to the other side of the pendulum. The Saints signed Brandon Cooks. I didn't really get the signing. I don't love the signing. What did you think of that decision to bring in a 31-year-old aging player?
The issue I have with it's not the money, hon. It really isn't the money, because it doesn't really count against them that much. It's just if you're going to bring in another receiver, you need a big body receiver. You're just bringing in the same thing with that, Rashid and Chris provide. I would have liked to see them go after someone who's, 6'3", 6'4", gives them a little bit more, of a possession receiver who can go across the middle. And look, I get the game today is all about speed and streaking down the sidelines and through the seams. That's fine. But they still need a possession receiver. They don't have that big body possession receiver. And it's no knock against Randy Cook. Look, he got what he got in terms of the contract, 2 for 13, but it really doesn't count much against his salary cap this season. And it's a veteran presence. They add a little bit of depth in case Rashid and Chris can't stay healthy. They have that guy. But once again, Brandon Cooks wasn't healthy last season. He was also dealing with, an infection from a knee procedure. So can he stay on the field? Once again, we're talking about injuries. And you're talking about a 31-year-old receiver. If he gets injured, not the greatest look in the world. But look, man, it is what it is. I mean, you're not expecting this franchise to go from 5 wins to 10 or 11 wins. And maybe they surprise you and get 7 or 8 wins. But, I mean, the way you look at it, it's like, it is what it is. I mean, it's so cliche to say that, but I just truly don't know where they're going this year or even the year after that. It's just, they're just signing, they're running it back with some guys they know, and maybe next offseason they'll have, that money and that cap space to actually bring guys that, are younger and that can be more productive.
Should they draft Quinn Ewers?
They draft Quinn Ewers, I'm gonna quit my job.
Why?
Yeah. If they do it 9th overall,
I'm talking middle rounds. I'm talking second or third round.
All right. Look, if they're going to go after a quarterback, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and Fletcher might be right. Jackson Dart at number 9 may not be that bad. All right? I mean, you have him, that means you'll have him for 5 years. But I would not. The only quarterback I'm moving up for is Cam Ward. I mean, he had a lot of great things to say to Manning award ceremony last week about, the meeting with the Saints. I grew up with a Breeze and Polson fan. He watched them, in the Houston area, and he loved the Saints. And I think the Saints really like him a lot. I think he would be their only quarterback they might take in this draft. But other than that, look, Hunt, I wouldn't draft a quarterback. You're not doing it in the 9th overall, moving up to get Cam Ward. I would not touch it. I would just leave it as is, and I would just address some of your other positions. Look, the guy I like, and people don't like me saying it because it's a receiver, I like Tatoria McMillan at number 9 from Arizona. Big body receiver. I said it once again. They need somebody who's a big body receiver who can go make some contested catches. I'm a fan of him, or even Ty Warren from Penn State. I would take Tatoria McMillan at number 9. That's just me. I mean, people say you get receivers anytime, but not a receiver like that.
We'll talk some more draft as we move forward. The draft is officially inside a month away. We're at March 25th. It is April 24th, that Thursday, coming to you from Green Bay. So we'll talk some draft as we'll be into to April next week. So we'll do that then. Tariq, thanks.
Anytime, Robert.
Tariq Feishak, WDSU. We'll step aside, take one more time out, come back and close it out. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The VEX European Bracket Challenge is rolling right along, heading into the Sweet 16 this weekend. You can check where you are in the standings at louisianasports.net and see how close you are to getting that shot at winning the $1,000 grand prize. Of course, the most accurate picks overall will take home all of that $1,000. It's the VEX European Bracket Challenge powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And also join LSU Athletics and us as well, the Tiger Athletic Foundation for Bayou Tradition's second annual Gala of Louisiana Saturday night featuring Jordan Davis, Shreveport native, on the field in Tiger Stadium Saturday, May 3rd. We are giving you on-field access. Register to win a spot at our table at 1045ESPN.com. Support LSU student athletes, NIL opportunities, and reserve your table at lsutaf.org/events.
Former CE Bird High Yellow Jacket quarterback Jordan Davis. What you're looking
Bird,
for there.
okay. Those aren't they weren't your rival, I guess. Y'all are a little too small for that.
Bird's way too big. Bird,
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I think was the biggest high school in the state.
Really?
When I was in school. Can't speak to that now, obviously, and I don't know.
I think they're maybe 4A now.
They're not
I'm sure
5A anymore?
Maybe they still. They probably are.
And
actually.
what is 5A?
Yeah, 5A is like Zachary.
No, but like, is it? Aren't they all divisions now?
So they
and
have
non-select?
they have Division 1, and that's
of
like
the non-select schools.
No. So Division 1, there could be 5A and 4A schools.
Okay.
And there's select and non-select. So Bird would be, I'm pretty sure Bird would be non-select Division 1.
So Division 1 includes 5A and 4A schools?
Some, yes. Because there's only 4 divisions now.
So 5A and 4A schools make up Division 1, and that's one division now. There is no 5A and 4A. The
schools are still classified, I think, as 5A or 4A, But the in terms of football, at least,
okay,
there's just Division 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so in each division, there are some schools like in Division 4, there's 1A and some 2A schools, and in Division 2.
Well, what does being a 1A or a 2A school mean? Like you compete that way in other sports,
yes,
just not football?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I can't.
It's a little confusing.
I can't even, and I want to be transparent here. I don't know what the actual result is of this. I don't know how many divisions there are. I don't know what school is in what division. I don't know what sports compete in what divisions. Like, I don't have all the information. And with that being said and laying all those cards out, what they have done to the classification system in Louisiana sports is stupid.
Yes,
it's stupid.
It is. It's
it is
very
stupid.
dumb.
No one is going to come over here and tell me that whatever they've done now, where they've got 5A and 4A schools competing in this, and select and non-selects competing in this, and 9 state championships in this sport, and all that stuff is stupid. When I was in school, which is not that long ago, you had 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A. Go play.
So Byrd is they're a public school, correct?
Yes.
They are in.
But they're a magnet school,
yes,
so I
but
think
that's
they were
the thing. So they are in select. But yeah, so they're in select, and they play. You know, with
How
Edna
could
Carr and
anybody get into
Alexandria.
a room and decide that this is a better system than what they have?
I'm not
and
sure.
I knew from the second I laced up my shoes in August to start basketball season that we weren't going to win the state championship. That's just the way it was. And that's okay. Like, trying to do playtime for everyone. Well, we don't like that Evangel beats us. We don't like that John Curtis beats us. Well, shut up. I don't want to hear about it. That whole thing is so dumb.
That's why it happened. Is because the private schools were tired of not all of them, but a lot of them were tired of not being able to win because they had to compete with all the other public schools, and not as many teams get in. So yeah, that's what it was.
This whole deal now where you win 3 playoff games in football and you're the state champs. Like that's just ludicrous.
Yeah,
it's
like
dumb.
Loyola Prep plays in Division 2, even though they're. I think they're. I don't know if they're still 4A or not, but either way.
4A, we were 2A when I was there.
Yeah, so now they're.
We still weren't going to win squat in basketball.
Yeah.
But I had fun playing basketball, and we got to the playoffs my junior year, and we won a game, and it was a big freaking deal. Who cares that? Who were the Peabody? It was going to be way better than us. It just is what it is. The whole thing is just.
It's not
irritating.
great.
Yeah, it is. We have any take it or leave it?
No, not really.
Okay.
I was looking for some, and then we
started
talking about
how
high school football.
Dumb the high school segment.
Yeah,
like, that does like kind of make me a little bit sad that when I look back at my high school and like I think about who our rivals were and like what we did and the fact that like none of that even exists anymore and they don't play any of those teams.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, like U High, our biggest rival, the biggest rival for U High was Episcopal forever. They were rivals for I don't know how many years. It was almost as long as the schools were around, I think. And then they switched, they redistricted everybody, which was also a big thing. They redistricted everybody to different districts, and they also changed classifications, and then you change the divisions and everything. Like I think technically U High and Episcopal are still the same classification, but Episcopal doesn't play in the same division, so it's just really weird. It doesn't make any sense.
In district play for us in baseball and basketball, I didn't play football. In baseball and basketball, you played everyone home and everyone away. That was the district schedule. I looked at Loyola's for basketball, and I think they played everybody once. I think there were like 7 district games. Like that was it. Like that, I don't like that.
No,
our way was better. I have no issue saying the way we did it was better. You got to go to everybody's gym. They came to your gym. There was rivalry there, and now because people get pouty because they can't win the state championship, we've got to have 106 state champions in a tiny little state.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous.
That's a bit much for my blood.
Yeah.
All right, I want to invite you again. Come on out to Sports Trivia tonight at Pizza by Roans. I'd love to have a great crowd out there. So if you're looking for something to do this evening, grab a team, come on out, eat some pizza by Roans, and win some gift cards. 8 o'clock to about 9:15. You'll be done there. Looking forward to being out there tonight. It's on Perkins Road, so come see us. Looking forward to watching LSU baseball tonight against ULL as well. I've got a pregame story up at LouisianaSports.net right now that previews that game. I talked about it a good bit on the show as well. If you missed that or anything else on our show today, you can always find it on demand. I want to give you all the spots that you can find our content because it's a lot. You can find it at 1045ESPN.com. The entire on-demand tab there is all of our shows. It's Off the Bench, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, After Further View. It's all there in its entirety each and every day. You can also search Hunt Palmer Show wherever you find your sound. You can find our full shows. That's generally a lot to digest for some people. If you just want your LSU football takes, you can get those at Hunt on LSU. That's on YouTube, as well as anywhere you find your sound. My Saints content each and every day comes at you at Hunt on Saints. So subscribe up to those channels. You can get our content each and every day. Certainly do appreciate it. I opened today's show talking about Joe Sloan and LSU's tight ends. I made the comment to start the show, like, I don't think LSU's tight end production is going to back up at all with Mason Taylor moving on, and I laid out the reasons why in the first segment. Previewed LSU and Louisiana Lafayette at 1:15. I've got a shaky feeling about this one tonight based on LSU's pitching and just the way that ULL played over the weekend. LSU wasn't as good in the last two games, so we'll see. 6:30 first pitch tonight. Glenn West, Go 24/7, talked all three sports. Talked LSU football, talked LSU basketball, the transfer portal, talked LSU baseball as well. Closed out the hour talking about LSU's women's victory in the round of 32. They'll move on to the Sweet 16 coming up this weekend. Mark Etheridge, good enough to give us some time at 2 o'clock. He was at LSU in Texas on Friday. He of the SEC extra team over at D1 Baseball, so appreciate Mark for some time. Talked LSU pitching at 2:15, and then Sharif gave us some Saints content at 2:30. Matt's about to drive you home next on After Further Review. We'll be here tomorrow. Hope to see you tonight at Sports Trivia. If not, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
You gotta believe